we were conscious we didn't want to impress on you too much control in terms of setting out the challenges that we have. Perhaps we went too far on that side. But if we're thinking about the things that we're going to ask the Commission for in the future, as part of either short-term simplification of the CAP or longer-term reform, having some ideas from you guys in our back pocket about what it is that we might say to the Commission, saying, oh, well, we know we can do this, and we know that the regulations don't allow us to do it right now, but if you change them so we can, then that results in benefits for all. That would be a good thing. So apologies if we took the handbrake on earlier. Let's take it off this afternoon. Thank you.
We're kind of thinking maybe these ones over here would be obviously for challenges 8 and challenges 7 that were very popular. Also challenge 5. It's really up to you how you want to self-organise yourselves, take these things off the wall, put them in the middle, carry on the discussions. And again, challenge 1, maybe use this one, self-organised basically.
So this was all around records, farmer records, mostly around farmer records. So the first one was to have, which I think is probably there, but we need to develop it more, is around the tractor map. So you drive your tractor around the field and you press a button, brings you a map and tells you where you've been, what you put on it, and how close you got to your margin that we don't want you to go to, and what you sprayed. So, and you can compare it to a space data like a soil analysis map. So that would be quite useful for us in Pillar 2. So that was one thing. The second one was to create a database to do an automatic check of photographs that farmers might send us, our customers might send us. So we have eligibility criteria for options that farmers can do within our scheme. And so we need to know things like scrub. So if we had a database of images of some sort, then if the farmer had a photograph, we could put it into the system and the system would tell us whether it was scrub or not, or whether there was tree or whether it was grass or something. So we thought that would be save admin time and be useful. We need to know where our animal movements are. So CAP database does movements but only as a holding level. So we thought, well, if the tag that the animal has to have, we actually put a chip in the tag that the animal had, maybe we could actually have sensors on gates so we would know where those cattle had moved field to field, and then somehow get that data into our systems. One way of saving documentation is a bit off the wall, but actually to have bigger agreements, and so we'd have fewer of them, so we'd have less to inspect. But they take longer, obviously, because there's more land to inspect. But it was just a thought, because apparently there are some member states that do that. Identify parcels. I think this is not mine, somebody else's, but identify parcels with large errors using low resolution images and focus correction ability on those. Mike, do you want to say anything more about that?
Okay.
As is one of yours?
Yeah. Okay, I come from an organisation that has been the remote sensing contractor for DECRA since '96, working until 2014. We currently have a project that is developing some new techniques predominantly related to Sentinel-1 data. And one of the things that we're doing with this is using the Sentinel data to identify parcels that have large variability in them, that some of those identified parcels relate to large errors in the RLR. So it's one way of sort of targeting some of the map update work. The other thing that we're doing is crop diversification checking using Sentinel-1 radar data. We've already developed this with producing a crop map of the UK in another project, and we're currently testing this with RPA, with Ruger Weight, on verifying crop types in relation to the crop diversification check. That seems to be going pretty well, and it's quite similar to what we used to do in 2006, actually, when we had to identify different crop types because they had different payment rates on them. So some of these are a couple of things using Sentinel-1 and some Sentinel-2 data, low resolution data that are helping to to do some of these tasks. Because it's Central One radar data, it's also cloud independent, so we don't have the image acquisition problems that have been talked about.
Okay, thank you.
James Bradford, Aerial Photography Pros here for ARPAS UK. So we had a very, very good discussion about the use of drones, obviously in different means, and how it happens and how it goes about. And one of the suggestions that I had to try and take this forward was to essentially ways to reduce costs to a lot of expenses. One of the points that we were talking about was cross-coordination, planning for drone visits to actually come as part of actual inspectors going to farms. So when you're having that conversation and organising that, potentially using the use of UAVs to actually help in that discussion, so that at first the theory would follow that you would send maybe a UAV operator with 10 farm inspections. Once the operator is actually with the inspector on that particular farm, they can fly the farm maybe with a multi-rotor or using a fixed-wing aircraft. They can quickly use data software such as from someone like Esri to then quickly analyse the data and actually have some information there and then pretty much in front of them as soon as the job's done. They can then, instead of spending 5 days on a farm or over that particular size of farm for all those inspectors, because then you've already seen the land around you, then you don't need to worry the inspectors by going up to the top north fields, because we've seen the data in front of us thanks to the UAV operator. Therefore, we don't need to send anyone up there, which would usually take us a day, 2 days to do that. Therefore, that saved X amount of people, X amount of days. So if you did this on the first 10 farms as a small sample to see how many days you actually save and money you actually save by doing that, you can then actually get a return on investment on if it's actually financially viable to actually be using that technology to help inspectors on the farm, because the inspectors can then spend their time inspecting things that need inspecting. So if you then can then enroll that out to other farms and other theories and going in with all that, you can then obviously widespread, turn it into 100 farms, and at the end of the day you can actually see how much money, how much time has been saved by using UAVs in that technology, using and working with inspectors while they're getting organised actually in the office, because inspectors are getting organised before they go out. And it's important as well that we mentioned that UAVs need to and satellite as well technologies. I'm obviously coming from a UAV background, I'm going to hype up UAVs. But if we can then improve the communication and actually the culture within the organisational groups that actually go, oh actually yeah, we can use UAVs to do a lot of this, it might then help with future discussions and actually mapping and integration of the data in which they can capture. I think that Jamie.
So Jamie Ritchie from Esri. We were talking a lot about the DEFRA and sharing of data. One of the things, especially with the Environment Agency, we were talking about actually looking at big data. So once we've actually, in the context of a drone, you fly, the drone has actually been flown, you then take that data and you upload that within a platform that is then basically shared and available for people to search and discover. So if, I don't know, a drone has been acquired some amazing resolution data, or we have some satellite data within a platform, then let's say the Environment Agency, who might want to look at a specific part of that acquisition, can search and discover. So you're basically doing one acquisition. The asset that has been bought, whether it's from the JRC, whether it's from a drone provider, can then be basically seen by all of the users within the agency. So for me, I think that whole search and discover, knowing what data is available and sharing it is really key. And we were just talking about that across the EA. Last one was which was related to certification. I was talking to was it Stephen Harris, I think, earlier. We were just talking about certification. In France, they have a lot of what's called corporations, and within the corporations they have a bunch of farmers who basically invest in drone technology for precision agriculture, and then they're actually sharing that with IGN, so the French mapping agency, who are then using it for other things, and they're starting to talk to the French agricultural agency right now on how they then can use that data, but it's certified. So not in a rubber stamp sense. So what's the location accuracy? What type of licenses and everything that's been given for the drone flight, etc. So there's a kind of a pseudo certification that says, right, this has been inspected and this level of resolution, this level of ground accuracy, etc. So
It's easy to find.
yeah. Is that about it? Anything else? Okay.
One of the key ideas is really looking at the automation and change detection for lipids as a major opportunity. But moving on to the ones we've got here, and it's all really about optimizing the use of field or satellite data to get to the endpoints that we want to get to. So idea number 2 here is using more phenological and meteorological information to target what imagery to use when, within the crop window, and more knowledge of that to predict whether you're likely to get a successful outcome. We had a brief discussion idea 3 around STAR, which has been had several times in the room, I think, which is, the consensus of this group is that it's going to be very good for, in winter, detecting you've got some kind of cover rather than discrimination of exactly what that cover is, but it's also going to be very good for some of the pillar 2 type things like erosion and so on. And just more emphasis on that. We haven't put much emphasis in the processing on that so far, together with optical sources. Idea 4 was as knowledge builds up from the fusion of optical and SAR sources as to what land model features we can discriminate and what crops we can discriminate. What we can't discriminate becomes a logistical target, a logistical source, an information logistical planning of where you use field effort. So what you can't discriminate, you can target your field effort on. Very simple idea. And then a discussion with the guys who actually manage satellite archives and tasking across multiple sensors against the likes of Rupert and I, who occasionally struggle to obtain commercial imagery through very clunky mechanisms internally within the public sector. We discussed actually a very simple innovation would be a purchasing framework across multiple sensors, in order that as you, within season, for example, realise that there's a possibility of making up ground quickly on being able to discriminate things if only you could have imagery of a particular type. There's a chance of actually buying it, or seeing if it's possible to buy it, or take a decision to switch into field. So you've no idea how difficult it is to be that smart and flexible around commercial imagery acquisition. And then we just had ideas that built on that from there, so other ideas like reserving capacity to task, and another one which is a sort of alerting service of once it's pretty clear what type of supplementary commercial imagery could help the main processing chains.
Physical inspections, so we're coming across a lot of the issues that have been raised here. We're doing a bit of blue sky thinking, seeing for the years to come how we can approach inspections in the field. I actually think one of the big questions at the start was how we go about allocating inspections. The process, the way we do it, is how the actual process of selecting who goes for inspection and how we do it. Is there a real need? Can we look at it at different sources? Can we use more imagery? Can we task imagery that we know we get every other day from lots of different suppliers? Can that be used as an initial stage before we go and go out into the field to look at it? We then moved on to things like blue sky options, which came into the drones area. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but actually sending out a drone, like an Amazon delivery drone that will go and assess the area. We then look at that area to see if if there's been any change made, validate that, and then see if there is any discrepancies in the validation of that drone survey or 3D modelling we were thinking as well. Then you get to the third stage, which is when you send out the field inspection as well. So a bit blue sky, but it was nice to talk about. Richard Ford's put his name against this one, which is inspections as a service. So changing from a process of a lot more physical downloading the data onto your device, There's a lot of process involved in getting data out of our current system, downloading it, manipulating it, changing it, getting it into a service that's working on the device and then getting it all the way back. Can we have a more fluid system, a web-based solution, or something that we can download, not even download onto the device, but use over, a 4G or 5G network in the coming years? And I think the biggest issue that we found with that is everybody knows that network infrastructure across the country isn't good enough now, but in the next few years, will we be in a position where we can say we can do live editing? Someone in the office can be watching on the screen and see their inspector there doing their survey. So that was, another good point that we, something we could maybe look at in the future. I'm just having a quick look, and maybe just around, I've covered on the intelligence inspection selection as well. So also how to set up your inspections. Maybe you pre-plan your route. So instead of the inspector going out in the field just wandering around the field, it's more intelligently established about how an inspector will cover, especially a large area that we're looking at challenge to. Is can we come up with a plan of action for an inspector to track around the field to see, is it pre-planned so it's the most efficient route to walk? So things like that.
By the adult ear tag inspections challenge and the associated issues. Effectively, it started off with conversations around the lack of a good data set today around what cattle to expect, and the fact that there aren't today any electronic ear tags. They're traditional plastic tags with no electronic aspect to them. And effectively, there's also the issue of cattle passports that a lot of the checks are validating the physical piece of paper as to the cattle. Effectively, the analogy we started with is that of electronic banking. Very simply, there should be a single master electronic record which is kept up to date, not just of, as I described, the births, deaths and marriages of the cattle that are out there, but equally any movements. And you get from my accent, I'm coming from Ireland. We do have a centralised cattle movement system which is kept up to date. And in fact, the vast majority of those are now kept up to date online, not by another means. And that seems to be the gap that's actually here. So getting rid of paper records, a piece of paper that is a cattle passport is really a piece of document which should be issued by you. It should actually be in central systems, that should be the master, and there should be no need for paper records. It should be the master, we should look it up, we should go to inspection, we should know what to expect, we should validate that's what we found, which is a binding inspection rather than proving based on this paper. The move to electronic IDs is actually key here, and if you can run a marathon with 10,000 runners through a starting gate, you should be able to have a load of cattle run through a farm gate, and you should know that you have cows that you expect to see them. So there's certainly a need to move from the current ear tags, and there may be some legislative aspects to that and regulations to go through, but it's quite important that you don't just take what might be there today for sheep EID tags, that you actually say, you go one step beyond that to distance readable, because the problem with the sheep ear tags is they're not distance readable. So we must make sure that there's no issue with the regulation. We must define the standard and get there, and everybody must know why, and there must be benefits in it for everybody in doing that. So as you get there, actually, we're not very blue sky here. This isn't very ambitious. This is pretty sensible stuff, I think. So use some sensible technology that's out there today, make it a standard, get there. There is a transitional question there, because actually, which maybe isn't blue sky, it might take you 12 years to get through all the cattle and replace their ear tags in the current herd, because not all of them are going to get eaten or will die off next year. So you do need to look at the mechanisms to incentivize, encourage, beat, whatever it takes to replace the ear tags and move to electronic, so that when you do visit, you can get all your cattle through the gate and determine what's there. And one of the pieces to this is if you're going to a centralized system, it's the incentives to get there. And in fact, part of this comes back to the customer service, the farmer-oriented piece of this. There should be incentives for farmers to move to this. So they should make it be easier for them to register their animals, to register their movements, to do it all in one place, and it must be a no-brainer. So that probably is things like smartphone apps, but equally it's integration to cattle or farm management software. So there should be open APIs that allow you to do this, register the animals, track them, move them, kill them off, whatever it might happen to be. Should be an open API, should allow arbitrary farm management software compete in the market by saying, we have the best interface to you. and they should be driving this into the industry. And that probably goes into other areas of records keeping. It certainly is the case that the more you encourage people into different services, the total value from those services is more than some of their different parts. Together, online portal provides all functionality is better than a set of discrete services. And there's value to be got from that through online portals shared by yourselves, and equally integration with data that are seamlessly integrated with your data. There may be, as we move to that, the need to incentivize farmers and assist farmers in getting there, because particularly in some of the areas, there is no decent broadband, there is no access to suitable software, or access to the internet effectively, apart from probably slow dial if they're lucky.